Hi, I'm the Space Quest historian, and this is my panel. I rule you now! Yep, that's me, hosting a panel on adventure games at PAX West. That's Lori and Corey Cole, Al Lowe, Dave Gilbert, Ivy Dubler, and Francisco Gonzalez. You may be wondering how that happened. Don't worry, I am too. It started with this email. I may have mentioned this before, but I'm doing the music for this new game called Absolute Zero, and this guy Randall is the lead designer and artist, and it frankly looks pretty damn good. I mean, look at this. And the music you're also hearing in the background is some of the stuff that I've done for it, so, well, every game needs a drawback, I guess. But anyway, long story short, Randall invited me to Seattle because he was invited to demo this game, Absolute Zero, at a private party that was taking place during the weekend of PAX West. It was kind of like a Sierra reunion thing, but also open for adventure game enthusiasts like yours truly. And Al Lowe was going to be there, Josh Mendel, the Coles, a bunch of people whose work I've admired since I was a kid. They were all going to be there. I was even told that Ron Gilbert might show up, which, spoiler, he did, but for a cool 10 minutes, and he didn't talk to anyone. So I didn't really get a chance to talk to him. But anyway, Randall invites me to this thing and asks if I can fly over. And I'm like, fuck you. That's a $700 flight. There's no way I can do that. So he then emails me the next day and says, look, we had a meeting. We're just gonna pay for your flight. And I'm like, fuck you, that's not even funny. But no, he's serious. And so before I knew it, I've got my tickets and I'm on my way to the airport. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see more of this awesome travel shit, the stuff that followed, the couple of days in the ensuing maelstrom, I've put up daily vlogs of my trip over on my Patreon page. There are 5 episodes from each of the 5 days I was there, and you can go check that out if you like. I'm just going to give you the Cliff's Notes on what happened in this video, and, 5 daily vlogs, I'm just saying. Anyway, so I get to Seattle at like 10 p.m. in the evening on Thursday. I get to the hotel lobby, I go up to the front desk, I ask for the room number, he calls the room, no answer. I look at my phone and there's a text from Randall that says, just call us when you're here. Turns out Randall, along with his mate Dave and his wife Kathy, are in the hotel bar, and they're already spectacularly drunk. But anyway, nothing happens, we get settled, everyone turns in, and we then get ready for the next day. And the next day is PAX Day. See, they got me a pass for Friday at PAX, and the hotel is right next to the convention center, so we're all set to go. We just stop into the Starbucks across the road to fuel up for the trip. But side note, Seattle is apparently Starbucks HQ, and literally in the block and a half between our hotel and the convention center, there are like 6 Starbucks. So it was weird. But anyway, we go in the Starbucks across the road, fuel up for the trip, and all of a sudden Randall taps me and motions me towards someone who's standing behind me, and it's fucking Onyx. She just randomly appeared out of nowhere. So Onyx, being a local Seattleite, unwittingly becomes our tour guide for the rest of the day. She shows us all the cool ways of navigating PAX, things that would have taken us hours and hours to figure out, and we have a great walk around the convention floor, looking at shitloads of games and booths, and none of this shit interests me very much, because I'm not going to play any of these games in a million years, but it's cool to take in the atmosphere, and oh look, there's a vinyl booth. I might have to... yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, okay, let me set up this next scene. Now, before I left, my mate Wirebrain on the SQH Discord gave me a few tips on how to survive PAX. His first thing was to head straight for the Indie Mega booth. Okay, I've done that. I've got the vinyl, thank you. His second was to get something called PAX Crack at a smoothie store on the bottom floor, and he told me to be very careful with it, so of course I let Onyx take the first sip. You should be really careful with this, because apparently it is pretty much like crack. It gets you really hyper. What does it taste like? Is it good? Is it? No.
It's spicy.
Is it spicy?
It's spicy.
Oh, hang on. Oh!
It keeps developing, isn't it?
Oh, that has a kick to it! And then we headed up to the 6th floor, where the Coles had their Hero U booth, and oh, okay, Onyx has just finished her PAX Crack. How do you feel? She was fine. Anyway, that was pretty much the day. Just walking around PAX, checking out the convention, hanging out with Onyx, and just having a good time. Also, never joke with a Google employee about them harvesting your emails. They do not take kindly to that. This dude here let us take a weird selfie with an upside down living room. Giggles. And then he says, just give us your email address and we'll email you the GIF or GIF or whatever. It turned out to be an MP4. Who's counting? And I'm like, you're not harvesting our emails, are you? Be honest. And the dude just shut the fuck down. Wouldn't even make eye contact. Oh, we laughed about that all weekend. Anyway, next morning. By the way, there was a record player in the hotel room. I don't know if it actually worked. It was plugged in, but the belt had come loose. I wasn't about to play my Grim Fandango vinyl on it. So, and also, no time for any of that because now it's Saturday, and Saturday was gonna be the big day. Because Saturday was the day of the party, the thing that Randall had flown me in for specifically. Oh, hi, there's Brandon, Julia, and a bunch of Canadians whom I randomly bumped into on the street in the morning while I was getting some Coke at the local Walgreens. We will see more of these guys later. But before that, we're suddenly in a car being driven by my mate Jerome Deckers. Not this Jerome Deckers. No, this guy. He worked on the Kickstarter to that Larry Reloaded game we don't talk about, but more than that, he's also good friends with Scott Murphy. Oh yeah, did I mention we were on our way to hang out with Scott Murphy for the day? I don't think I did. Anyway, here's us catching a ferry and being very mature about it. And after a nice ferry ride, we're driving up to Scott's house. Oh, look, there's Tom King mucking at the camera. He does that a lot. Anyway, when we get to Scott's house, there in the parking lot is Danny. Okay, backing up a bit. Now, before I left, I asked the party organizer, Roberta, if I could invite Danny to the party because he's a big Space Quest fan and it would be nice for me to be able to invite him to something cool for a change. So she says, sure. And then I mentioned it to Danny that we're also going to go and hang out with Scott for the day and then we're going to go to the party afterwards. And he's like, can I come to hang out with Scott? And I check with Scott. And he's like, yeah, that guy gave me a shout out during one of his concerts. That was so cool. I want to meet that guy. So anyway, there's Danny. He's been hanging out in the parking lot for an hour waiting for us. We thought we'd get there first with the ferry and all, but Danny Ubered there and fucking zipped straight past our slow waterlogged asses. And there's Scott. And there's us hanging out in Scott's living room trying on his Andromeda nose that he still has after all these years. And here's us getting lunch and hanging out and holy fuck. It was just a fucking awesome day. And Scott is exactly as awesome as you'd think he is, and he's spry too. I mean, we went to this lunch and the guy just took off. Dude's in shape. We were all huffing and panting and it was a warm day out. And when we got there, all we saw was this back room with plates of like old food and disused beer taps, and it was totally abandoned. We were wondering what the fuck was going on. And finally, we just went around the bar through another door and there was the serving area. It was a very weird place. But anyway, our time was up sooner than anyone wanted. So I gave Scott a big hug, thanked him for everything he's done for me, shaping my sense of humor as a kid, and just being proud and honored to call him a true friend. And it was very uncomfortable for everyone involved, but it was the best I could do to cram like a lifetime of admiration and respect into a 10-minute goodbye. I was pretty much just at a loss for words most of the time we were there, honestly. So pretty fantastic day, I think that goes without saying. And then it was on to the party that evening. Roberta, the organizer, no, not that Roberta, this Roberta, had brought together a wide variety of people from Sierra Alums to indie adventure devs to just regular adventure orbiters like myself. I met up with Brandon Bloom, there he is again, and Kevin Wallace, whom I've known since I was a teenager in the early days of the Space Quest online community, but never met in person. This was all very surreal, just suddenly seeing people I've known since I was like 15, but in the flesh and at age 38. These people were like the glue that held the community together back then, and they've, to their credit, stayed with the community ever since. We've moved on from message boards to Twitter and Discord and whatever else you have, but they're still there, still passionate about the whole thing. So, and there were so many people at this party. Like, at one point we were joking that maybe we should stay off the deck because probably isn't cleared for like 30 people, and then someone swears they heard it creak and everyone just noped the fuck out of there. And then the living room was just sweltering with heat with the amount of people there, and the pizza oven was going in the background. Oh, it was a mess, but who's complaining? Not me, certainly. I mean, here's me hanging out with Josh Mandel, and here's me saying goodbye to Josh Mandel late at night, moments before I was told that we had an Uber waiting ourselves, and we suddenly had to leave in a big hurry, but that's okay because we left at precisely the right time. It was just so magical. Oh boy, so many good memories. It's all a blur really, but a very, very good blur. So we get to the next day, my head's still reeling, and we sleep into like 1 p.m. and not a lot happens on this Sunday where we rested, except...
What?
Yeah, so after we went back to the hotel and burned our clothes and woke up the next day, it was Monday, and now time for the panel. But we had some time to kill first, so we had another walk around the convention floor. Oh look, there's the vinyl booth again. I'll just... Nah, you know what? I already got the Grim Fandango one. I can't really... Oh well. And I got a red Yoshi for my kid. I mean, what sort of kid should grow up without a Yoshi for a friend? Right, you can stay off the comments, by the way. I know his name is Yoshi. What can I say? Jacksepticeye's corrupted me. Anyway, then, this is the panel. How did I end up doing a panel, you may ask? Well, long story short, the original moderator couldn't make it, and I somehow made an impression on Roberta, so I was next in line, and boom, suddenly, there I am, on stage sitting next to Corey Cole, because the sound guy told me my 7-foot mutant ass wouldn't get picked up by the microphone on the podium. And after the panel, we just hung around a VIP room, which I guess wasn't really a VIP room because it was just a place to hang out after the panel, so audience members could take their pictures with the panelists, and they just called it a VIP room because, well, I guess it was a room and there were VIPs in it. Brandon and Kev were there again. Kev even gave me an iron brew to drink on stage. Thanks, Kev. And I got my photo taken with Al Lowe, which I didn't get to do on Friday. And then, as quickly as the day had begun, it was suddenly over. So I hastily said my goodbyes, and I was on my way to the airport. I literally went from doing a panel, chatting for a little under an hour, and then saying goodbye, and then to being on a train to the airport within the span of like a couple of hours. So that was an appropriately surreal capper to an already surreal weekend. And now here I am, back in Denmark, still a bit jet-lagged, and trying very much to process a weekend where just too much good shit happened. And again, if you're a Patreon supporter, you can watch me try and fail to take all of this in on a daily basis. There's a link in the description for that. So you can watch my 5-episode travel vlog. It has pretty much every bit of footage you've seen, but with the original audio intact and some on-the-spot commentary by me and my companions. Travel vlogs. It was a hell of a trip. And I do want to thank Randall, Kathy, and Dave of Giggle Horse for bringing me over, because that was no small thing that they did there. That was mega nice of them. I'm so 90s. And also thanks to Roberta for organizing a sweet-ass panel for me to moderate and a kick-ass party, holy shit. And of course to Scott Murphy for letting us hang out with him and try on his Andromeda nose. Who knows what diseases that thing has accumulated over the years, but it was a fucking honor. And, just thanks to all the good mates I ran into along the way. I don't want to mention all of you because I'll just end up leaving someone out, and that person will henceforth live to murder me in my sleep, so we don't want that. But anyway, thanks for coming on this ride with me. This whole thing was like sort of the monumental capper to these last 4 years of doing YouTube. I mean, again, I'm not quitting or anything, but it sort of felt like the pinnacle of what all of this has led up to. I mean, how can it possibly get any better than this? You tell me. I'm the Space Quest historian, and thanks for watching. I'll see you around the Chrono Stream. Bye.